Hello.
Good evening.
How you doing? You okay?
Yeah, I'm good. How you been?
Yeah, not bad. Another room today, different location for everybody to see me in. I've changed from the bus to somewhere else, and now I'm in the office. So I'm moving about, moving places.
Why not? Change is as good as a rest. Thanks to everyone for joining us this evening. Really excited for this evening. We got a lot in store for you, and really excited to be able to bring you Will from Mote. But before we do that, I just want to say a big shout out to Abid, who's watching tonight. His eldest daughter, unfortunately, is not very well. So sending lots of love and positive thoughts to Khadijah tonight, and also to Abid, who's got to sleep on a very uncomfortable bed by the look of it. But all the best to you and all the family, Abid, and thanks for joining us this evening. So without further ado, let's bring on Will. And for those of you who don't know, Mote is a tool for being able to give voice feedback. And I'm not going to say any more than that because I really won't do it justice, but it's something that I discovered thanks to John Neal during lockdown, and I've absolutely loved using it, and I'm delighted with the way things are happening, and absolutely over the moon to have Will with us this evening. So with that said, good evening, Will.
Hello, Will.
Hello, chaps. Hello, Darren. Hello, Ben. Thanks very much for having me on.
You're very welcome, and thanks for coming all the way from America for us.
Yeah, I flew in especially for short and sweet. So, yeah, I really appreciate that. When I finish up my 14-day quarantine, I'm going to fly straight back. So,
yeah, why not? Why not? So, honestly, thanks for joining us, Will. I know it's been a very busy week for you. For those people who don't know, you've just relocated back to the UK, haven't you?
Yes. Yeah, after 9 years living in California, we decided we wanted a bit of a change. So, yeah, just moved back, and, all good so far.
Brilliant. Good stuff. So tell us a little bit about yourself then, Will.
Right, where to start? Well, I guess as I mentioned, I've just moved back from living in California in the Bay Area, where I worked. I moved over. Before moving, I was working at the BBC. I was working in the radio division at the BBC, helping to evolve and build digital services at the BBC. And then that led me to go and take a job working for Intel in the Bay Area. And I enjoyed that. And we stayed around in California and really loved that. But I've always wanted to run my own company, do a startup. And so about 18 months ago, I started working on another startup. And that was in voice technology. And I can tell you more about that. But ultimately, that led us to a bit of a light bulb moment of an opportunity to do something more with voice in collaboration. And we started Mote with this idea that teams needed better tools for collaborating. But when we launched the product, and we'll talk more about this if you like, turned out that it was a perfect tool for teachers and students as well. And we've really not stopped focusing on teachers since then.
Brilliant. So where did
we should have been clapping for the NHS as well.
Yeah,
so.
absolutely.
Yeah,
so where did the name come from, Will?
The name came from a good friend of mine who is a bit of a branding creative, and I asked him to help us come up with a name, and he spent a while just thinking about it and came up with this name, and it means a smallest speck of something. It's an Old English word, comes from a Dutch origin, I believe. It's an unusual but real word, but we loved it because it was very short, it was kind of ownable, distinctive, and it had this connotation of note, right? We had this idea of a voice note or a media note, and that's how we got the name.
Brilliant. I kind of presumed it might be something to do with emotions as well because of them.
Well, that was the brilliant thing, because we thought, well, it's good for remote teams and it's good in sort of emotional. So all of these connotations kind of come out, but that was just a kind of happy coincidence.
And we love a name that's short and sweet, don't we, Ben?
Just brilliant, mate.
I know. Fantastic. Absolutely. Brilliant. So, so you said 18 months ago you started looking at it, and obviously teachers started picking it up. Was that something that you were aware of, that teachers were using it, or did somebody say to you, did you realize teachers are using it?
Yeah, so winding back a little bit, 18 months ago we started working on another startup, and that led us to thinking about voice. But the idea for Mote really came out when Alex, my co-founder, and I were I guess brainstorming on what to do next, because the last startup didn't quite get momentum. So that was the initial thought. We started to think about what could we do. Could we build something into Google Docs originally, or other software that we were using to collaborate? We thought, wouldn't it be cool if I could leave you a voicemail or a voice note to collaborate? And so we said that would be awesome. We spec'd it out, and then both of us started building it. Alex is a very good engineer. I'm a very poor engineer, but we were both cranking away, writing code. And we launched it on we sort of created a beta. We were iterating, and we launched it kind of publicly, I think, on the 17th of March. Well, you may recall, like, what else was happening around the 17th of March? The whole world was, it's a deep and dark moment. But we launched, and almost immediately, though, we started to grow, and we were baffled. We didn't know where these users were coming from. But it soon turned out, people were asking us questions, and it turned out they were nearly all teachers. And we were fascinated. Initially, it was like some teachers in Australia, then some on the West Coast of the US, and some in the UK, and all over. And we were fascinated by this. We knew that the use case existed. So we'd seen other products that existed. There's one called Kaizena. We'd seen another product called TalkTalk. So we knew that teachers use this product, but that we thought that, sure, teachers would be part of the target audience, but we didn't realize that would just immediately resonate with teachers. And people kept saying, can you make it work in Google Classroom? And we said, honestly, like, what's Google Classroom? And so, we worked really hard. And so this is, we can talk about this later as well, but it was just about going where our users asked us to go, and trying to work as hard as we could to meet those needs.
And talk about being in the right place at the right time as well, with COVID happening and everything else. Out of all of these terrible stories, there are really positive ones. Teaching has moved forward massively in terms of technology because it's been forced to, and a lot of us have kind of made kind of a tongue-in-cheek joke, really, that COVID in about 24 hours did more for technological advancement in education than a lot of us have done in sort of 10, 15 years. But that's the way it is. And I know, like I was saying to you earlier, I first saw Mote on a 24-hour teachers global staff room that Paul Farrell organised, and John Neal demonstrated it. And I was kind of like, well, that's really interesting, because I'm a language teacher, and the ability to be able to leave spoken comments obviously means you can then start to deal with intonation, accents, pronunciation, and everything else. So I absolutely loved it straight away, which is why I ended up getting in touch with you, and the feedback I've had from my students has been really positive, and from parents as well, actually. So should we dive in and have a bit of a look?
Please do.
I'm excited.
Right, let me just share my screen properly. Bear with me a second. Wrong one. That one.
That's just showing off, Darren. You've got loads of screen there.
I'm terrible.
Not that one.
Let's go again. Right, here we go. right screen this time, and let's bring that one in. Here we go. So what I've got here is a document that I put together, and it's just a very, very rough example that I sent to Ben earlier to do some homework because I didn't think he was busy enough. And it's one of the tools that I like to use as a starter, just to get students thinking as they come into the room, or even online if they're coming into the meet or whatever. So I've put an image in there, which is a very basic mathematical question. And what I asked them to do, and they're all used to this now, is in the green box, write anything that you definitely know. Okay. In the yellow box, put the things that you think you know. And then in the pinkish red box around the edge, put any questions you would like to ask that you think would help you know more. And obviously, this is what Ben's done. And if we were doing this in class, I'd walk round and I'd talk to students about what they've written, and I might pair people up and things like that. But obviously, remotely, and a lot of this is going to continue even in the UK, where we're back to school probably pretty much full time. There's still going to be issues around marking and not being able to touch books for certain periods of time. So I'm planning on certainly doing a lot of my marking through Google Classroom still. So what I would have done, I would have set this for Ben, and he's handed this back into me with some of his answers. And all I need to do to give some feedback, quite simply, is go to the comment option. And if I click on add comment, you'll see, those of you that haven't used Mote before, we've got the lovely little Mote M in the corner of the comment box. So I can just still type as normal if I want to, but if I click on the little button here, it starts the recording for me. So what I might want to do is to highlight a certain area. So for example, I can click on the 140 there and add a comment specifically to that. I can start recording. Okay, thanks, Ben. Obviously, you know that that's 140 degrees because it says it, but is there any other information in there that you are 100% sure of? Think about mathematical symbols and things that give us information. And I can just add that in there for him. It thinks about it first of all, and it gives me the option here, click to hear or read my voice note. And I've got an option here to review or edit the transcript. So I click on the little pencil. It loads up what I've said. Okay, thanks, Ben. Obviously, you know that that's 140 degrees. It plays my voice and reminds me how terrible I sound and things like that. So I can double check that. And if it's not quite 100%, like, for example, we've got there, sure, we can just edit that. Sure. There we go. We just edit that to go with it, and then we can just update that, exit, and that sits in there. And I click the comment. If I want to as well, I can add Ben in there and tag him in as well, assign it to him, click assign, and that will send that message to him. And Ben will get that message shortly. But I might want to give him some more feedback as well. So while that's coming through, Ben has said, I think the missing angle here is 60, which would mean the line is 200. Okay, so I might highlight all of that and come here and put another comment. Okay, Ben, I can see where you're going with this, but I think you've got one of your figures wrong, which is throwing out your answer. So you might want to go back to the back of your book where you've got your reminder cards all about angles in a triangle and see whether you want to change anything there. And again, I can do the same. Now, if I don't want the transcript, I don't have to have it. I can just comment, and I don't have to tag him because I've tagged him already. He's already going to get an alert. So I can just post the comment. Let's me. There we go. And you can see it's automatically put the transcript in there anyway, and you can just click on the play. And finally, I might not want to comment on that yet. What does the little 0 stand for? What type of triangle it is? Is this? Well, I might choose to comment on this and say, for example, well, Ben, that's really for you to tell me, is there anything in the triangle that might give you a clue as to what kind of triangle it is? Okay, and then I can just add that comment in as well. And again, I can change that around and edit. I can look back, just click here. Well, yeah, here we go. I can show more to see the whole thing. It's still transcribing. So that's pretty accurate. I'm happy with that. So we can just say, yep, that's fine. And that will send to Ben automatically. Okay? Ben, have you got that come through now?
I've not got the email come through, but I have got the stuff come through on Google Slides there.
Brilliant. Should we throw yours on screen then instead?
Let's do it. I'm not going to say which screen is it, wrong screen, because I'm not as posh as you, Darren.
No, and you don't want to get all the flack. You don't want to get all the flack I'm getting in the chat either, do you?
Yeah.
There we go. Go on, talk us through what you've got there, Ben.
So on my screen here, you can see this is the student view of what we've just been going through with Darren there. So first thing I can see on the right-hand side is that I've got a comment assigned to me, and I can see that from a student view as it's highlighted in yellow. So it shows me it's assigned to me. Now I can see that Darren's left me a comment there, and I can click on that, and I can see the transcript that he's put here. So I can read it there if I want to. Alternatively, I could click on the play icon and listen to it back.
Okay, thanks, Ben. Obviously, you know.
So we've already heard that, so I'm not going to play it all through for everyone to hear again. But I can actually, straight away there, see the text transcribe of what's been written, what's been spoken, sorry. I can play the text here. And then I've also got the option here to put some emojis to it as well. So this one here, if you hover over it, says I may need help to understand this feedback. Or this little gem, which says I understand and I'll revise as suggested. Thanks. So I could select one of those if I want to. So I'm just going to click the little diamond here.
That's because you're a little diamond, Ben.
I am. What can I say, Darren? You make me blush in a minute, mate. So I can select one of those, which as a teacher you will see, how I've responded to that. Equally, I can reply down here using normal text if I want to, or equally, if a student has downloaded or installed the Chrome extension of Mote, they can actually reply back using Mote as well. So, it's been asking me to allow use. I can actually reply directly to Darren's comment there using Mote as a student as well. So this could promote sort of, students talking back with you, replying to your feedback as well. So normally students would reply usually by text or even not reply at all in some cases. This gives them that easy opportunity to reply back in terms of voice note, and then the same, Darren will be able to see that from a teacher's point of view in the same way I can see his. So that's really cool. And students, I only use this towards the end of lockdown. To be honest, I didn't use it all the way through like Darren has. But students are loving it. Being able to hear your voice, especially during lockdown, I think it was really quite nice for them, because for some of the students, they haven't left their home, they haven't seen anybody for months, like most of us haven't, and just hearing that familiarity of your teacher's voice giving you personalized feedback really made a huge difference, especially for my students anyway, and I'm sure the same thing applies to you, Darren, as well.
Absolutely.
It's just really powerful. So I can go through and improve these comments. So I can say I've completed that one. I've got this one that says, I think I've done this one wrong. So obviously I'll put in here, I think the missing angle is 60. I need to go back and check.
Ben, can you do me a favour and just play that one for us so that we can see the metrics the other end?
Oh yeah, of course I can, yeah.
Okay, Ben, I can see where you're going with this, but I think you've got...
So do you want me to play it all the way through?
Yeah, go. One of your fingers wrong, which is throwing out your answer. So you might want to go back to the back of your book where you've got your reminder cards all about angles in a triangle and see whether you want to change anything there.
Brilliant. So I've watched that through, and I think I may still need some help with that, actually. I'm not quite sure on what I need to do there. So I'm going to give this little confused emoji here because it turns out by this I'm not very good at maths. So I'm just going to leave that confused arrow there, and I'm not going to mark it as resolved because I'm not quite sure on what I need to do there. And in the top one, we've got I'll play it again for the metrics.
Well, Ben, that's really for you to tell me. Is there anything in the triangle that might give you a clue as to what kind of triangle it is?
So at this point, I've realised actually I do know what this triangle is, and I'm actually going to respond using a Mote recording now as well to my teacher. So I'm just going to click the Mote. Hi, Mr. White. Thanks for prompting me here. I think it might be a right-angled triangle. I think it's because I can see the box in the corner down here. So I think it'll be a right-angled triangle. Let me know if I'm right. So I'm going to reply to Darren there and just click reply. So hopefully you'll be able to see that your side now, Darren. I'm hoping.
I'm sure I will in a second. Lovely. So
put you back on the
starting to come through from it. Yeah.
There you go. You got it. And while you're just making that transition, I'll just say one clarification. So with the student accounts, we disable transcription just to keep the experience as simple as possible for students, so they don't need to worry about that. So you'll just see the voice note.
Absolutely. Right. Let's.
Glad you went out, Will. I didn't realise that. So thanks for.
That's it. And because you're in a teacher's account, then obviously it will show for you, but wouldn't show you.
Yeah. So if you click, there's an option as you log in, which is either under 17 or under, or over 18.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Under, it's.
Okay. So now I've got Ben's responses here. So I'm going to start at the bottom and work my way up. So let me just close a few of these down. Here we go. So let's just scroll it. Oh, let's see if I can just get a little bit more of that on screen.
So one thing you could do, Darren, actually, maybe if you click on the Mote icon in the web up in the browser bar for a second.
Ah, yeah.
And then if you click on the My Activity and Engagement.
Yeah. And this is not a way I've ever done it before, so this is really useful. I like this.
Okay. So there we go.
Here we go. So we've got a full log of all of the comments I've ever given. And you can see some of them from a little while ago, some earlier on, some longer ago. And here's Ben's ones. So we've got here. So this is the original one. And there was my comment. And this little metric here is obviously giving us the option to play it again. But we can see here that the comment has been opened or viewed. We can see that it's been listened to. And we can see that it's been understood and actioned. So I know that that's fully under control. He's read it, he's listened to it, and he's confident he knows what he's doing with it. So I should see an improvement there, okay? On this second one, I can see again that he's opened it. I can see again that he's listened to it, but it's telling me straight away that he may need some help on this. So I could kind of go, okay, well, let's go back and have a look at the original context. And see what he actually said at that point. Right, it was he wasn't 100% sure about the 200. So that might be something I follow up with him. Okay. And we can see Ben's in there at the moment. So I could, at the bottom of this one, for example, might just been a little bit slow at the moment then. There we go. I could just add at the bottom here. Don't forget, Ben, that the angles inside a triangle, the interior angles add up to 180 degrees, and so do angles on a straight line. That should give you a clue. Okay, so I can give that dialogue going, and I haven't got to go around stamping a book with a verbal feedback stamp or anything like that, because I've got a record of the conversation, which is automatically going to be kept in the comment records and everything else, and I've also got that activity dashboard as well that we've got running here. So now I've got back to that one, and then we've got this one here where in this case I know he's opened it and viewed it, and I know he's listened to it, but he hasn't responded yet, so that might be something I want to follow up on. Okay, but a really useful way of being able to see straight away, and also when he did it. So I know he's worked on that response immediately rather than 10 days later. Well, of course you don't remember anymore. It's 10 days later. But here's a student who's jumped on straight away. So really powerful feedback from that perspective. Okay?
I've never gone in and seen it that way before, actually. I've always sort of gone back into the document and found the comment and gone back in, but I didn't realise I could go through and do that. It's definitely going to speed up next year's feedback for sure.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to solve these comments, Ben, and then I'm going to throw a bit of a curveball your way. Okay? Oh, no. Because I'm just going to ask you another question here. And where are we?
Make sure I know the answer to it.
What I'm going to do here, I'm going to comment on all of that. I'm going to do it in Mote. And okay, Ben, thanks for answering this. I know you've only recently come back from living in Spain for a long period of time, and your English isn't so strong. So from a perspective of Spanish, what we're going to do is I'm going to actually ask you that in Spanish. Okay, so what are the total degrees of the interior angles of a triangle? Now, obviously, I've recorded all of that, and it's quite a lot of blurb and everything else, and there was a mixture of English and Spanish in there. But what I have got the option to do now, hot off the press. Okay, Ben, thanks for answering this. There we go. Hot off the press today, Will, was it?
It's a global exclusive for you, Darren.
There we go.
Global exclusive.
Global exclusive.
I love it.
We've now got the option to translate. Okay, so all of this is up here, and I can now click translate. I can choose my language, and you can see there's lots of languages already supported. I'm going to click Spanish. It translates it for me, and then I can click update
and click exit.
And I click exit, and what it's going to do is going to translate the transcript. Mind working. Right?
Yeah, I think you're identifying a little bug there, Darren. But carry on. No one's seen it yet.
No. It should do it.
It's always the way when we're doing a live demo.
Just comment, see what happens.
There you go. Yeah, I'll disappear then. I'll fix
There
that.
we go. So now what I've got is I've got the transcription in Spanish, but you can still okay, Ben, listen to it in English. So if you're dealing with students who are EAL, for example, you've got the option of giving them the instructions in English that you feel comfortable with, but then them being able to have access to both sets of instructions, which is not only going to help them understand the work, but also help them to improve their English as well, or any other language that you happen to be working in. So a really awesome feature that, as Bill said, hot off the press today as a brand new world exclusive. Okay?
Yeah, that's available. So if you want to check, if you've got the latest version we released today, version 0.052, you'll see that and can play with it already.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you haven't got the 0.052, if you just uninstall and reinstall, which is what I did earlier on today, that will do that for us. Okay. I'm just having a quick look to see if we've got any questions in the chat. Lots of really great feedback. From people.
Through that.
I'll just pop a few of them up on screen. So Dave Cross there saying be a bit of a game changer for workload. Absolutely. As a language teacher, during lockdown, I was able to mark full sets of students' work in about an hour, which I can never do in school. And more importantly, I personally feel, and the students said as well, that I gave more personal and more specific feedback because it was verbal than I used to if I was writing it, because you kind of get into the habit of writing the same things, but because you actually feel like you're talking to the person, I think you almost imagine them there in front of you, and that makes a massive difference.
And I was going to piggyback on that, Darren, actually, and just say, I was using this towards the end of lockdown, as I mentioned, and at the end of lockdown, I had to take over, all of our Key Stage 3 music. So I had the best part of 14 or 15 classes worth of 30 students, and to mark each one of those individually with comments, it took me ages to start with. And going over to Mote, I was using, it took me probably about 2 hours, just 2.5 hours maybe, to do all 15 classes. It's incredible for time saving, and I definitely think that, in terms of us not being able to mark books properly or having to leave things for a certain amount of time going back in September, this is definitely something I'll carry on going forward. It's all about working smarter, not harder, isn't it? So this is definitely a way to do that.
Definitely. A couple of questions in the chat, Will. Dave Leonard's asking, their EAL coordinator is going to love it. Does it work for all languages?
Does it work for all languages? Yeah. So what we've got at the moment is we support, I think, something like 25 languages. You can see them if you just click on the Mote icon and then click on the transcript languages. Yeah. We support a very large number of world languages. Whatever language you speak in and choose as your transcription language, so maybe you start in Spanish, but you want to translate it to French, there's no problem, right? It's entirely it's entirely whatever direction you want to take it. So it's language agnostic.
Fantastic. And like you say, working in any direction as well. And in terms of opening an account, how do people do that if they've not used it before?
Yeah, super easy. In fact, maybe one of you gents would share your link. But if you share a link, you can get a 30-day trial. And offer a 30-day trial. So that will give you all of the features of our unlimited product. That includes all the transcription, translation stuff you've seen today. We've got a free tier product as well with a few restrictions on it. It's still a good experience, but obviously we're trying to tempt schools and tempt individuals to buy up to the paid product. So, but yeah, ping me if you have any more questions on that.
Will do, definitely. Fantastic. What I'll do is I'll just pop the link in the chat as well.
Yeah, you should do that. And anyone who hasn't signed up should definitely just use your link to get a 30-day trial.
So if you want to try that.
I've just put a link in the chat as well for the Chrome extension for anyone that doesn't have it already installed on Chrome.
Fantastic.
In the chat as well.
Yeah.
Lots of people saying that teachers are really, really excited to use it, which is fantastic, because sometimes we're not the most excitable people when it comes to new products. So,
well, I think you kind of nailed it. I mean, obviously we feel pretty, we were lucky in many ways. We sort of land on it, but you hit it nail on the head that there is both the benefit we hear all the time, the productivity saving. For some people it's very significant. And in addition to which it's the increased impact, right? It's that combination. And that's why we say the mission of the company is we're fast and friendly feedback. That's what we're about. And the friendliness, the human connection, there's been lots of evidence around this. It really helps make greater impact as well in terms of the taking on board the feedback that's given.
I mean, I was saying earlier, I noticed I started using it with one class in particular, and I quickly noticed I had two similar classes. And I quickly noticed that the ones that I was using the verbal feedback with through Mote, they were engaging more than the other class were. And that's what prompted me to say, well, that's it, we're going to use it with everybody. And it was fantastic. So really pleased with that. Obviously,
jump in, Darren, if you could.
Go on, him. Yeah.
There's a good comment here from Francis that I just wanted to bring up actually. It's just saying here that I love Mote, how it works. It's like a dream. It's so easy to use. But most of my students only have mobile phones. So sort of looking at the roadmap. I know you're going to touch it later on. But is there any chance that will work on mobiles in the future? Or
yes. So the links will work in
Google Docs and stuff like that.
Yeah, certainly in Google Docs and on Android. I think in all parts of Classroom. There's been some weird changes to the iOS classroom experience. So it used to be you click on a link and it seems like they've taken away that. So that has impacted the iOS experience, I'll be honest. On certain parts of Classroom, it's not all, it's kind of weird. And I'm going to try and nudge Google perhaps on this, but definitely the best experience is with a Chromebook or a laptop, but it's still workable, especially in Google Docs, it's fine. They just click a link, and they'll open up a browser page and they'll be able to listen and comment and react just as you would within the document.
I wonder if it works on PlayStation and Xbox as well, the same as Classroom will. Because that was a nice.
I actually think there is a Google Classroom app for or a browser.
Yeah,
it's running like an Opera browser. Do you know? I haven't tried that. We should. No. I probably wouldn't because it's not Chrome. It's so we're as a Chrome browser. Well, they might still be able to click it. Yeah, it should still work as a click. We can check it out.
That's what I was thinking. I don't own one, so I can't. But I'm thinking, the links themselves should.
The links themselves will work, but it won't be quite as seamless an experience as you get.
Absolutely. There's another good one here from Dave as well. Actually, not a question, but Sort of touching on what I said earlier about obviously that two-way communication if you're using with students and staff. If teachers are pushing it out and giving comments, students can reply. You have to, get your G Suite admin to push the extension to all students to give you that option of two-way communication. That's that's a really good idea for anyone looking to do it.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of schools do that already, actually.
Yeah.
And coming back to the original kind of concept behind the Mote itself, you don't have to use it with students. It works equally well with colleagues.
Yeah,
and I've been using it where I've tried to explain something in text to or over an email to somebody where it just hasn't translated. And we know, we tell kids all the time, don't read too much into what you see written down because it can easily be misinterpreted or whatever. Actually, this is a way of making sure if you want to put emphasis on something with a colleague or you want to make something really clear, you can use that between yourselves to speed up your workflow that way as well. So
yeah,
it's super helpful. And for those of us like myself, I work across 2 schools. Really, really easy to have a virtual conversation with somebody without having to actually be online with them at the same time necessarily, because you can just send those messages backwards and forwards.
Or even being on the same site as them. Because me and Darren both work at the same 2 schools, for anyone that doesn't know, and Darren does a lot more travelling about the 2 than I do, to be honest. But it just when you're not here all the time, it's great to be able to have those virtual conversations without having to travel all the way over here to deal with something you could do remotely now.
Yeah. So moving on a little bit, then, Will, you've just in the last sort of week or so been able to kind of clarify everything around, more than a week or so ago now, but COPPA and FERPA and also the dreaded GDPR as well. So that's all sorted out now, which, everybody, it's the bane of our lives, but it's something we have to deal with to a certain extent. But you've also just launched the ambassador program as well, haven't you? Do you want to say a little bit about that?
Yeah, we'd love to. One of the things I've been so impressed about the kind of EdTech ecosystem and the teacher-peer collaboration is the way that teachers get involved in products and in I guess I suppose it's the collaboration with the companies to help get the message across, right? So what I felt like for us, we owed a lot of our success to folks like yourself, Darren, folks like John Neal you mentioned, and many others who discovered us, shared us, and we think that's fantastic. We wanted to give back, so we wanted to really develop kind of community programs, and I made this a real priority. I mean, we're such a young company, but this was one thing I really thought was so important to get right from the get-go. So we have we've got a pretty active Facebook group community. I'd encourage anyone who's interested to join. I use that a lot to share kind of upcoming products, to get quick feedback. There's some good conversations about using the product. And really for me, it's like, hey, you want to talk about feedback in general? It doesn't have to be to do with Mote. Fantastic. That's what we're hoping that happens there. And then we've also got our ambassador program, and that's going to evolve clearly. But right now, I think it's a great way to say thank you and recognize folks who have already played a role in helping get the message out. There's obviously some benefits associated with that, lifetime VIP status, a few stickers, T-shirt. Like I showed you earlier, Darren, I've got yours here with your name and address on it. So, that is, I'd love everyone to take a look at that. And if it's interesting, check out on our website. You can go to justmote.me and there's a link to the community page. You can check it out.
Yeah.
And I've been really blown away with the engagement that we've had with that. I'm just very grateful to the community.
I think it goes both ways. We're very grateful for a tool that's very, very simple and easy to use and very intuitive.
Definitely. I mean, I haven't done your ambassador program yet. I've been so busy at the moment. Definitely something that I'll get round to. Because it's just as Darren said, it works both ways. You've provided such an amazing resource for the education community to use that it'd be silly not to, I suppose, go through the process.
And Will, you mentioned the Facebook group and the feedback as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, fairly recently you ran a poll on different sort of pricing options, and one of the things that I think talking to other people were really impressed with was the way that you listened to the feedback that people gave and then slightly changed direction as a result of that, which was great to see. And obviously that brings us onto the kind of the roadmap side of things. And the question actually coming from Dave again, really good point actually. Given what we've said about misinterpreting things in writing, is there any chance that Mote might be available in Gmail moving forward?
Yeah. So, well, actually, let me just speak to if I may, two points. So you first asked a point about feedback and changing, and I think I just wanted to make the point there, which was, it would be crazy not to listen to that feedback. I mean, for goodness sake, we're a company about feedback. So if I can't walk the walk, so first off, and genuine and sincere, I mean, and it's a passion point for me. So first off, it's hugely valuable, and I think, and I had a lot of people write me fabulous, articulate emails and tell me how disappointed they were when we started charging, right? And I totally understand, and believe me, it's heart-wrenching because I get it, and there's a principle there, and I would then send equally long and heartfelt emails back in response and just trying to explain from our point of view why we have to charge, why we have to build a business. Because otherwise we can't afford to do this. So and there's always this trade-off, right? I'm trying to trade off between accessibility. How can I make this tool and put it in as many people's hands as possible to get the maximum benefit? But then, frankly, how do I get it sustainable so that I have a business that can justify the investment that we're going to need to make in improving the product and providing the service? So that's the type, and sometimes we don't get it right. And in this case, I think there was this suggestion, hang on a second, you only made 20 voice notes. That seems really bad. And I said, well, what about this? I've got 2 or 3 options. I said, maybe we could increase the limit, or number of voice notes we give away for free, or we could make it that you get an unlimited number of voice notes for free, but they're only 30 seconds in length. And everybody voted for that option. I said, great, we're going to do that. We'll have it launched next week. And we did. So, and we'll make mistakes, and we're open to listening. So I think it's really important. The question though was about Gmail. Yes. So super interesting. I hadn't realized how much teachers use Gmail to interact, especially with parents. And I didn't realize how much of a part of a workflow. And I remember I had one teacher earlier in the year was telling me she had arthritis in her wrist, and she loved Mote because she didn't have to type. And so it was just this really heartfelt story. It was like, oh, we've got to make it work in Gmail. So it's on the roadmap. It's definitely something we'd love to do. It's a little bit bigger of a problem space to figure that all out. But in general, I would say our goal is to Mote everywhere, right? So we think that there are lots of other places. Every week I get people say, can you make it work in Forms? Can you make it work in Drive? Can you make it work in Gmail? Can you make it work, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? And the answer is usually probably yes. But every one of those you have to prioritize against other things that we've got going on.
Another question is just coming from Dave Cross, actually. Is there any kind of profanity filter or anything built in?
Do you know what? You should test it yourself and see.
Maybe not live.
Yes. The answer is yes. But we're not going to do that on air. No. And actually, yes.
Brilliant. Thanks for that one. Fantastic. And on the subject of roadmap, obviously, as I said to you when we met earlier on in the week, a lot of us and a lot of the people watching are either already Google innovators or aspiring innovators. And we talked about one of the things that might be really interesting for people is that concept of starting off with an idea and then progressing through and failing forward and finding where the problems were and then changing direction really quickly. Can you kind of talk us through what that process was?
Yeah. Well, I think you are. I guess it's interesting you to use this word failing forward. I think my best simple articulation is that I think of a startup as a learning machine.
Right.
And literally every day your job is to try and learn as much as possible about what is working and what is not working, and then make the decisions about how you're going to take the product forward, right? And when you're a very small company, when you're very lean like we are, you can make very quick decisions and you can iterate very quickly. And there are some decisions, there are some changes to the product I can make in an hour. There are some that will take me a day. There are some that will take us a week. Some might take us a month, right? So the bigger the chunk, the bigger the, bar that you want to clear in terms of that change. But, I think what was, in a way, we were blessed and we were lucky because we came at this almost completely ignorantly, and we just listened really well. I think that's one thing we did quite well was listen, and then we looked and we thought, okay, what would work as a good solution here? So I think if you've got, and I know many people may have a pet project, a pet idea that they'd love to see turned into a product, I think what I would say is learn to code. It's really, and the best way to learn to code is by building something. And don't even think about, I'll tell you just straight, one thing do not outsource development to some random third party, right? You either build it yourself or you find someone to work with who can build it with you. That's the only way you're going to build anything meaningful, because you're never going to get it right first time. It's always a work in progress, and you're going to have to iterate. So yeah, I would say, and I 18 months ago, I hadn't done any coding for over a decade or more, and I've just loved getting back into coding, learning more languages. It's part of my job. It's a small part of my job. It's probably only like 10-15% of my job, but it's one of the bits I enjoy the most. And I would say it's just a great skill, a really important skill. I think everyone should have just a bit better understanding of actually how the technology really works under the hood.
That's really good. Yeah, really good feedback. So have you had any particular bits and pieces that you were quite passionate about, but you've had to park them because they just weren't worth it, they weren't working? Because that's hard sometimes to let go.
Yeah, I agree.
We have. There was actually a feature that we launched, we built pretty early on, which I loved as a feature that was awesome, was the idea you would paste in a link. So I used to do as a demo, like take a link from the New York Times or from the BBC website, and you paste it in, and we would go to the BBC website or the New York Times, and we would pull in a picture from that article, we would pull in the headline, we would pull in the first few sentences, and we would like render it as a little kind of article, right? And there are other applications. You've probably seen something like that in Facebook, or Twitter sometimes does this, but we thought this would be really cool, and we just like, let's do it, let's make it happen. And we did, and we built it. And then what we found was that it was fine when we were working just in Google Docs and comments, but then when we rolled out into Google Classroom, and then there were all these other like Zoom links and all these various links that people were sharing that were totally not the sort of things that you wanted to be blown up into cards, the way that we were doing. And it was actually like almost like crashing our servers as well. So it was a combination of angry users and crashing servers. So we said, kill this feature. And the funny thing was, I think one person complain and say, where is that feature? Right? And so that was, I guess that's a mark of, you did the right thing turning something off.
Yeah. Nobody complains about it. They didn't really use it.
Yeah.
Actually, on that subject, one of the things that we were talking earlier on, in the way you were saying that, one of the things that perhaps a lot of people don't know about is the ability to put emojis into your comments as well, weren't we? And
so that was again another. Yeah, that's something everyone should try. It's a bit of a fun feature. Again, we're sort of magpies. We found that feature exists in a product called Slack as a keyboard shortcut. So you just do colon and then start typing. So you could type colon SM, which would be like smile, and then it will show a smiley face. So you could type
colon. My screen on again, and we can
do it live.
Yeah, we can have another look. Okay,
show it. Because I must say, Darren, I know you are one of the few well-known fans of this feature. It's one of the lesser-known features.
So, as you can see, all I've got to do, if I just type in here, if I just start, for example, TH, it gives me things like thumbs up, thumbs down, or nice. Thanks. So I can be like, oh, brilliant. Yeah, let's give you a thumbs up for that. Nice and simple, really, really quick and easy. Obviously, there are keyboard shortcuts and things like that you can use, but then you've got to remember all of those. They're not easy to remember sometimes. Whereas with that, just colon and start typing what you want. I love it because it's really, really, simple, you know. As
yeah, and we were talking, Darren, I think as well about where else we might go with this, and obviously we know there's a lot of love for Bitmojis, GIFs. So again, within the spirit and theme of fast and friendly feedback, we think there's a lot of other areas that we can, you know, experiment and see what works, see what you guys like. So, and definitely one of the areas we'll be iterating and experimenting later this year.
There's a bit of a Bitmoji craze, and I think it'd be cool to have, you know, your Bitmoji pop up with something relevant to what you're talking about. That'd be amazing.
Peak Bitmoji, yeah. I mean, I'll tell you the dream Alex and I were kicking around today is surely you really want a talking Bitmoji. I mean, like you really want your Bitmoji to actually say your voice comment, right?
That would be
so
awesome.
we might need to talk to Snapchat about that, but
do it.
But why not?
Absolutely. We'll see what we can do.
It makes it that much more real, doesn't it? And yeah, we had you were talking earlier about the Mote teacher group as well. We had a good conversation on a meet the other night, didn't we? About, you know, what other features people might like, and there was talk of the ability to be able to maybe screen record and things like that.
Yeah.
And it's like anything with any product. The more feedback and the more ideas you get, the better. There's no bad ideas really, are there?
You know, it's true, and obviously, so there is a flip side to this, and this is what we're trying to figure out. Is, so, as you all know, there are products that start off wonderfully simple and brilliant, and then they keep adding more and more and more stuff. And there's a point at which it becomes overall, you know, negative, right? And so what we're trying really hard to do with everything we add is try to add it in a way that doesn't take away from the experience. So for example, like I'll give you one example. We added that preview feature. So you used it to review the voice note before you posted it, right?
Yeah.
Now, one of the design principles we have for creating that feature the way we did was we said, some people want to edit before they post and some people don't. I don't want to add more work for anybody who doesn't want to preview it or edit it before they post. So I don't want any more clicks for people who don't want to preview, right? So I want to, you know, so I added that little button in, and that little button is just if you want to edit before you post, you don't have to, right? Yeah. So do you see what I mean? Like you've got to try and figure out how do you keep the basic simplicity of the product while adding more functionality and not cluttering up the experience. So that's, I've seen so many, particularly, I'll be honest, in EdTech, there's a lot of products which I think have just taken on a bit too much, have become a little bit too complicated. So we're going to try really hard to stay on the right side of that.
Yeah.
I mean, touch on that comment you said earlier, you know, about getting lots of feedback. You know, I use this analogy in school. You know, it's the only silly question is the one that was never asked. You know, and I think that's the same for feedback, isn't it? There's no silly feedback to give. You know, give feedback, and you know, if you don't give feedback, you don't know what the people want. So, you know, how are you going to work from that? So I definitely, you know, I'd say it across the board for everything. You know, the Google products, your products, other EdTech tools. You know, give people your feedback. You know, and 9 times out of 10 they take it on board and give it a go. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I read every email I get, and I get a lot of emails from users. And I respond to almost all of them as well. Yeah. It's the best source of intelligence we get. So yeah, keep them coming.
Definitely. And you know, coming back to your point, Ben, it's been my bugbear for a long time. Seems to be particularly education. We have a, and that's, when I say we, I mean collectively, but not everybody. Obviously, we have a temptation in education to walk into the staff room and tell everybody what we don't like about something, but not tell the people that have got the power to do anything about that. You know, we'll just go and moan to somebody who happens to be sitting next to us and expect that to suddenly improve things. Like, you've got to talk to the right people, and that's why, you know, that feedback is so important. And you know, we've got to do it with the kids, so let's model it ourselves. You know.
I think that's really important. You know, there's oftentimes we ask the kids to do things, but we're not modelling it ourselves. And you know, it's things like your growth mindset and things like that. You know, I think it's so important that, as you say there, to model what we expect, sort of thing.
Well, Well, actually, if I can throw a question at you guys, because one of the things I've been discussing with some other teachers is there are some teachers I've met who actually invite their students at the end of a term to give them feedback. And I wondered if you had ever considered that.
I've done it in the past. I didn't at the end of this year as such, because we didn't really see them at the end of this year. But I don't do it all the time. But every now and again, if we've done something different, or we've done a different way of doing something, I do tend to give the students just a little Google form to fill in at the end of it. It's got, what did you like about it? What worked? What didn't work? What would you like to do more of? Or is there something that another teacher does that I don't do, and you'd like us to try it? Tell me about it, and I can talk to them, that kind of thing. Yeah,
I mean, I have done. Now I think about it, I've done one instance of it this year actually, because I'm in my first sort of official year of teaching this year. I'd say being in a salaried role, but this year I tried, because I teach digital skills and music. We're doing a lot of paper assessments to start with, and I move those over to Google Forms and ask the students whether they think it would be a good idea first of all, and then ask them afterwards, because we've done paper ones previously and now we've done a Google form. What did they prefer? Do they prefer doing it on the computer and seeing things in live time and getting instant feedback, or do they prefer the paper? And I think they appreciate that. Then giving them that voice, giving them the chance to tell you what they want to be doing. It's almost giving them that open door, and I think they really appreciate that.
That's great.
Definitely. Well, that's we're almost up to time. I don't think we've missed any questions. I think we've pretty much covered everything. So unless people have got any last minute questions to throw in the chat, it's your last chance to do so before we finish up this evening. But while we're doing that, I just want to say a huge thanks to you, Will, for taking time out of what's been a very hectic week for you to come and join us. And thanks for all you're doing for us teachers as well to make our lives easier.
You're very welcome.
We really do appreciate it.
Very much so.
You're more than welcome. Thanks for having me on.
So the Twitter account and the website are scrolling along at the bottom of the screen there, guys. Do check it out. If you're interested in the ambassador program as well, that's on the website, but you can also pick that up on rachelsbadgeedtech.com as well, where you can find lots of other badges and certifications and ambassadorships and things like that you can do. And thanks for joining us this evening. Next week, we've got Louise Jones joining us at Scotland Louise on Twitter from ThingLink. So it'll be another really interesting evening and perhaps a new tool to some people, but really exciting as well. So thanks again. And we haven't had any more questions, just lots of thank yous, Will. So we are going to say good evening at that point. Have a very nice Friday and weekend. Those of you that are back in school, have a great week. And those of you that aren't yet, enjoy the last sort of week or so and bank holiday weekend coming next weekend before we're back in school. But thanks for joining us, everyone, and take care.
Next week. Take care.
Bye-bye.